Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're taking a really fascinating detour into the world of organizational psychology.
Right.
And we're filtering it through the high pressure cooker of professional sports. Our mission is pretty clear. We want to analyze the internal dialogue of a team that's, well, used to winning it all.
And now they're not. That's the core tension here. The Kansas City Chiefs, an organization that, just recently looked like this unstoppable machine.
Yeah.
They find themselves sitting at 5-4. And when success is your baseline, a 5-4 record doesn't feel like winning. It feels like, well, like a failure.
Exactly. So the source material we're diving into is from Chiefs tight end Noah Gray, who was talking to reporters. And his comments give us this direct, unfiltered look at how a high-performing group tries to recalibrate in the middle of a season. They're trying to pinpoint the difference between that near-perfect execution they had last year in close games and the frustrating inconsistency they're dealing with now.
And our goal is to really treat this like a business case study. We're going to try and extract the core management philosophy that's, embedded in what Gray is saying.
Right, like how do you stay motivated internally?
And how do you handle all the external noise? What is the specific, actionable thing you do to overcome a mid-season slump? It's kind of a blueprint for any organization facing a bit of turbulence.
Okay, let's set the scene with the cold, hard numbers, because this context it's everything. The Chiefs are heading into Week 11, sitting at 5-4.
That's the scoreboard. That's the number the whole world is judging them by, and it's the number generating all those, critical questions.
And the problem isn't just 5-4 in a vacuum. The real pressure comes from this constant, kind of impossible historical comparison.
Which is exactly what Gray is publicly responding to. He's in that pressure cooker.
And the comparison, it's really twofold, which is what makes their current situation just so psychologically taxing. First, they're battling the memory of last season. A team that finished 15-2 overall and lifted the trophy. When you go from a 90% success rate to just, slightly above 50%, the assumption is that something is fundamentally broken.
And that gap between past perfection and what's happening now,
Yeah.
that's where all the doubt starts to creep in.
Yes.
But there's another historical ghost haunting them, one that Gray actually brought up.
His rookie season
In 2021. At a similar point that year, the team was also 5-4. Now, they did manage to rally that year, but it's the memory of that early struggle is another source of anxiety.
So you've got the unbearable height of recent success on one shoulder and the ghost of past vulnerability on the other. But here is where Gray just initiates the reset.
He cuts the cord.
He severs the link to history. He just says, I don't think anyone's really focused on last year at all. We're just in this right now.
And that quote, that is pure crisis management gold. If you let your current 5-4 self be constantly judged by your 15-2 self, you're paralyzed. You're paralyzed by inadequacy.
Right.
You can't fix the present if you're drowning in the past. Gray is basically mandating this short-term, present tense focus. They have to decide who they are today, not who they used to be.
But doesn't that statement, doesn't it risk sounding a little bit like denial? If they aren't focused on why last year was so successful, how do they know what to fix now?
That's a great question, but I think Gray's point isn't that they're not studying tape or anything, is that they cannot let the emotion of the past dictate the action of the present.
Oh, okay.
They have to discard the psychological weight of that comparison. Once you get rid of the baggage, then you can move on to the operational solution.
Okay, so if step one is just actively rejecting historical comparison, let's get to the heart of it. What is Gray's operational prescription for moving forward and, addressing these issues?
What's the bedrock?
Yeah, what are they leaning on?
It really boils down to one word: trust. Specifically, absolute internal trust. Gray made this the absolute pillar of his whole argument. He says, I trust everybody in this organization, from top to bottom, coaches, teammates, everybody that's a part of this.
Wait, hold on. When an organization is struggling, isn't that the moment when trust usually starts to fray? When, people start pointing fingers at the front office or the coaching?
And that is precisely why this quote is so important. He's inoculating the team against that exact kind of fracturing.
Okay, I see.
By saying this publicly, and I'm sure internally, he's defining the problem as non-structural. He's saying, our plan is good, our people are good, therefore the problem isn't a lack of trust in leadership. It must be a failure in execution.
And that puts the focus entirely on the players and what they're doing on the field.
100%.
So that absolute trust then translates into a specific action and mindset, which is that famous phrase, trust the process.
Yes, and he actually elaborates on what that process really means. He says they must keep chugging along, keep coming out here, practicing, staying humble, working together as a team, and trusting the process.
It sounds like a cliche.
It does, but when you're 5'4", and the outside world is yelling that your process is broken, defining the process as just staying humble and practicing becomes
Yeah.
this necessary operational mandate.
So the primary motivation has to be trust in each other. And that leads right to the one variable they can control,
Yeah.
execution.
Absolutely. And Gray is very, very specific about this. He gives the highest praise to the coaching staff, right? He says the coach has a great game plan and is putting us in positions to be successful.
So the strategy is sound.
The strategy is sound, but the responsibility for turning that great strategy into, a win,
Yeah.
that falls squarely on the players. They have to execute.
And here's where the universal application for you, the listener, comes in. How often in business, or in anything really, do we confuse having a brilliant strategy with the difficult, painstaking work of actually implementing it?
All the time. The gulf between creating a strategy and executing it perfectly is where most organizations fail. And Gray gives this very concrete, almost mundane definition of what execution requires.
It's not just the big moments on Sunday.
Not at all. He says execution that's us going out there at practice, taking meetings and everything seriously, doing our homework.
And that's profound in its simplicity. The antidote to high-stakes failure isn't some brand new playbook. It's just optimizing the basic inputs.
Taking meetings seriously, doing your homework.
Yeah, those are the prerequisites for high-level performance. They have to be internalized.
And crucially, this whole hyper-focus gets narrowed down to the next achievable step. They don't talk about getting back to 15-2. They talk about the immediate challenge.
It's going to be one game at a time.
Exactly. Specifically, playing the Broncos this week. That kind of micro-focus prevents the 5-4 record from creating some existential dread.
Now, I want to take a moment and look at the messenger himself, Noah Gray, because his whole philosophical stance on process and execution, it gains so much weight because of his specific role in the organization.
That's a vital distinction.
This isn't just a star quarterback making, general statements. This is someone whose job defines the core meaning of execution.
Right. And when we look at his stats, he's coming into Sunday's game with, 11 receptions for 98 yards. Those are not highlight reel numbers.
No magazine covers there.
His value to the team isn't defined by explosive personal stats at all.
So if his success isn't measured in yards, what is his primary function? What's the role that grounds his philosophy in that essential, non-glamorous work?
His pivotal role this season is heavily, heavily focused on the blocking schemes on offense.
Yeah.
He's the unsung hero. He's the guy whose job requires maximum precision, selfless effort, and immediate perfect execution on every single snap.
Often with no recognition.
Zero recognition.
That role blocking is the perfect metaphor for the process he's preaching. If you fail to execute a block, the entire play just collapses instantly. There's no room for debate.
No. Blocking is micro-execution under extreme duress. You have to be humble enough to accept that your job is to enable someone else's glory.
Mm-hmm.
You have to trust the plan. The coach told you who to block. And you have to trust your teammates that they'll be where you cleared the space. So if Gray, whose job is 100% focused on immediate, selfless, physical execution, if he's the one preaching process and trust, that message carries incredible weight in that locker room. He lives it.
It really does underscore his entire message. High performance isn't about some revolution. It's about relentless discipline in the fundamentals. He's speaking from the foundational layer of the whole organization.
And that connection is key. His expertise is literally built on the successful execution of these fundamental tasks that let the rest of the team shine. It makes his argument, do your homework, take meetings seriously. It makes it irrefutable. It's the standard he holds himself to, day in and day out.
And that brings us back to the core takeaway for you, the listener. What this deep dive really shows is that in any high-pressure environment, whether you're trying to overcome a financial slump or a technical challenge, the strategy for recovery is almost entirely divorced from historical performance.
You have to actively reject the comparison that's weighing you down.
Once that psychological barrier is gone, success relies strictly on immediate, flawless execution, which has to be supported by organizational trust. Gray's statement gives us a universal blueprint.
It does. Trust your leadership's game plan, trust your teammates' commitment, and then focus every single ounce of your energy on the quality of your own work right now.
The lesson is that the most powerful form of motivation in a crisis is simple, self-directed accountability. It's about taking those mundane, day-to-day things, the practices, the meetings, the homework, and treating them as seriously as the final high-stakes delivery.
Indeed. It forces everyone to look inward and ask themselves, if the strategy is sound, am I genuinely giving 100% to implement it?
And that takes us to our final thought for you to carry forward. Gray confirms the organization has full faith in its strategy, right? The coach has a great plan, he says.
Hmm?
So if a professional organization with, unlimited resources and talent has full trust in the creation of its game plan, and yet the results are still inconsistent, this raises a crucial, universal question for all of us.
Yeah.
How much more difficult, time-consuming, and resource-intensive is the execution of a plan than the creation of the plan itself?
It's easy to whiteboard a strategy. It takes an incredible amount of collective discipline, humility, and trust to flawlessly build that vision in reality. Something for you to consider the next time your own organization hits a snag.
We'll catch you on the next deep dive.